Hello everyone, how's it going? This is Juan with Wet Sleeves Aquatics, and I know it's been a while since I've actually spoken on any of these videos. I'll just upload random silent videos showing you what I have. But I decided today that I'll do a little bit of talking, a little bit of describing of what's going on. Maybe you guys can drop some comments down below if you want to see anything in particular in more detail of any of my setups or anything that I have going on, any of the fish, any methods or anything that I have. You know, if there's anything that you'd like me to go over in a little bit more detail, I will definitely do that. You can just let me know below. So I guess we'll get going. So right here, we'll start out with the main display tank, I guess I'll call it. It used to be mostly an angelfish tank. I used to have a whole lot more angels in here. But right now I'm down to 5. I got rid of a bunch of them not too long ago. They were just getting too big, and I really didn't want to get another tank and like expand. I don't have the space right now, and I really just didn't want to deal with setting up another big tank for more angels. So I decided to get rid of I used to have clown angels, so I got rid of them, and I had some black veil angels, and I also got rid of them. So right now I'm only down to my pair of kois and a pair of Philippine blues. And if you can see right there in the center, they're spawning. They're spawning right on one of them sword leaves. And what's weird, if you can see that the male koi is trying to fight off the female. The female is spawning with the blue pair. Like the blue pair is spawning on that leaf. Let me get a little bit closer. So you can see all the eggs right in the center. And that's the big male back there. And then the female's a little bit smaller. She got a little bit more black on her right there. Okay, now she's laying eggs on the leaf. And now the koi female is also laying eggs on the same leaf. And the koi male is all the way up here. He's not being let anywhere near that leaf. So I don't know. Maybe we got a bunch of koi eggs and Philippine eggs fertilized by that Filipino male. I've never seen that happen. They usually spawn on their own. You know, each pair on their own. And she's very insistent. Look at her. She wants to be in there. That's weird. It's never happened. So she's adamant about breeding and spawning on that same leaf. And you see that Philippine female, she does not care. She is laying her eggs, and the male is right behind her fertilizing. And now here comes the koi female, and now she's laying eggs. If you can see that, which is really weird. I've never seen that happen before. I've never seen that happen. It's a first time for everything, I guess. Okay, so now that we got that out the way, so this is my 60-gallon planet. I got some swords, some potted swords. They're humongous swords. And I decided to pot them because I like to move them around. And I used to keep them planted directly into the substrate. And then I would have to pull them out and make a huge mess, and I would have to cut off all the roots and replant them, and then sometimes they would get dug up by the fish and float around, and it was just a whole pain. So ever since I potted them using worm castings, and then the worm castings are capped by a layer of that fluorite that I have down there. And then on top of the fluoride, I got some river stones just to prevent the cribs from digging it up too much, because as you can see in here, I got a pair of albino crebensis, and that's the male right back there. And the female is gravid with eggs again, somewhere around the tank. Probably trying to find a place to lay the eggs at. They spawn all the time. They haven't raised up any fry yet, but I'm sure they will. They're excellent parents. And so they like to dig around, even though I got caves for them. You can see I got these clay pot things, and then I got the pleco caves, and then I got this cave here. They prefer to dig up their own cave for some reason. Sometimes they'll try to dig the sand from underneath of this driftwood, or they'll dig underneath of the pleco caves or underneath of the flower pots and make their own cave. And what they did last time, I think I put a video up, I don't remember. They actually dug up a cave. If you can see it right there, you see a little baby pleco. They dug up all the fluorite from below those river stones in that pot, and they made a cave in there. And if you can see right in the back corner where the pot used to be, there's a bunch of fluorite on top of the sand. And that fluorite was the fluorite that was in the pot. So they got in under the river stones, and they dug up all the fluorite, and they spit it down on the sand, and they made a cave. There's a female right there. You can see her pink belly. She is ready to pop. And if you can see right in front of her little anal fin there, you can see the tube that they use to lay the eggs on. So she's about to... They'll probably spawn sometime today or probably tomorrow. And so that's the paired cribs. So right here I got an Anubias. I'm not sure what kind of Anubias, but this Anubias is attached to this driftwood. And if you can see that whole mass of roots, like that thing is encrusted into the wood. It's not going anywhere. A huge mass of roots. And then I got some Blixa japonica, I think it's called. I got a few bunches of those. You can see that there's some algae on them, and it got to a point where it was kind of bad with the algae. But from what I've seen, they're getting a lot better. Like all the new light green leaves on these are brand new. So these things are pretty much growing and letting all the algae covered leaves die off, and they're growing new leaves. So that's pretty good. And you see right there, there's a green bean that I feed the Brazilnose plecos in here. So besides the angels, I got some random tetras. I got some glow light tetras there. I got some what are these called? Rummy noses somewhere back here. And then I got a random German blue ram male hiding in the plants in there. And then right up here, you see this tiny little angel. This is a koi angel. And this is one of the fry that I managed to raise up from these guys. Okay, so what I'll do is when they spawn, occasionally I'll go in there and I'll take the eggs out, or the wigglers, and I'll put them in one of these Marina breeder boxes and see if any of them make it. I don't try to breed for numbers. Like I don't have a breeding setup, and I don't want to hatch all the brine shrimp and all that mess that goes into that. I'm not interested in doing that. But I do enjoy trying to raise up a small number of fry and see if any of them make it to adulthood. And I've had luck with angels. I've been able to raise some all the way up to adults. I've been able to raise German blue rams all the way up to adults. Cories. As a matter of fact, if you see down here, I got a couple kinds of cories. I got that albino cory. And right back there, you see those couple there? That's San Juan cories. I just got the San Juan cories a couple of weeks ago. And then I got the regular emerald cories right there. That's a big female. And what they'll do is they'll go all around the tank and they'll spawn. They'll lay eggs all over the glass. If you can see right here, these are the remnants of the eggs, the cory eggs. They'll lay them on the leaves. They'll lay them on the glass. They'll lay them on anything, just about any surface. And usually, when they're spawning, the tetras will be right behind them, or the angels, and they'll eat up all the eggs at the same time that the female is laying them on the surface. The fish will be picking at them right behind her. So I barely ever get to actually take out cory eggs from any of these tanks, but every now and then I'll be able to take a handful out before they get them. And once again, I'll throw them into that marina box up there and let them hatch or whatever. And every now and then, someone will make it. And with the bristlenose, there's a big male right there. I have a trio of bristlenose plecos. So they're regular bristlenose, but they'll breed all the time. They'll get into these caves and they'll spawn. And I've actually had a couple of successful batches of fry come out of there, because I've got like 20 of these bristlenose fry all around this tank, and there's one right there. If you can see them right there on top of that clay pot. So there's a little tiny one, and there's a bunch of them underneath of the actual pleco caves. And if I'll move down here next to these flower pots, you can see there's about 3 of them right there. There's 1, 2, 3 right up there. And all around the flower pots and all below the, like this cave right here, you might be able to see them. There's an albino one, an albino baby right there. I can try to focus on them a little bit. But what's been great about these bristlenose is that they'll breed regular bristlenose. They'll produce, I'd rather say, but they'll also produce a bunch of albinos. So I wanted to get albinos, and then I wanted to get the super reds, but then the super reds are too expensive sometimes. I'll go on Aquabit or online or something, and then sometimes people want these ridiculous prices for super red plecos, and I just don't want to pay them. I understand that they're more expensive, you know, the regular plecos, but some people just go crazy with them. And right now, because they've become so popular on YouTube and online, you know, people want a whole bunch of money for them. If you go on Aquabit or something, you know, you'll be getting half of them. I mean, half a dozen of them for, I don't know, last time I checked, you know, they're going for like 15 or 20 or even more bucks a piece. I don't know, maybe that's just me. As you can see there's another little baby pleco there. But ever since the pair of original plecos that I bought started breeding, I haven't had the need to buy any more plecos, because I've got plecos in all of these tanks here except that one, but the rest of the tanks have plecos in them, and they've all come out of this tank here because they just produce so many of them. Sooner or later I'm gonna have to start giving them away or selling them or something, just to bring the numbers down, because the last thing I want is 20 or 30 medium-sized plecos in this 60-gallon tank. So as you can see, the angels are still breeding. You can see the females are still trying to put all their eggs on that leaf, even though the male doesn't want anything to do with that coy female. She's still insisting. Okay, so I got a couple of random guppies in here that I've bred outside. I got a guppy tank outside with just random guppies, and they produce like a bazillion guppies, and I don't know what to do with them anymore, to be honest with you. I'm not really a guppy guy. So I covered the cories the cribs, the angels. I got a couple of Colombian tetras in here. They've been in here the longest. And I haven't gotten the San Juan cories to spawn yet, but I'm sure they will soon because some of the females that are in there are getting really chubby and they eat really well, and sooner or later they're going to start spawning on everything. So as you can see, I got a layer of this pool filter sand on top of the fluorite now, and that has improved the look of my tank so much. I really love the way it looks, and I had gotten bored with it. I wanted to switch the substrate completely, but then I thought that was a huge mess. So I just added a layer of the pool filter sand on top of it, and all the plants love it, okay? I've tried Blixa japonica before on the plain fluorite, and it did not work. With the same light, no CO2 like I'm running right now, and they died. And right now, I mean, the roots are going crazy on them. They're producing a whole bunch of new leaves. And then I got some crypts, and the crypts are going crazy. Everything's growing. And even though the sand doesn't provide any nutritional value, I guess you could say, it doesn't add any nutrients to the water. It doesn't provide anything for the plants, but it provides a substrate for them to root that is a lot easier on the roots than the fluorite is. And that's my opinion, but I think that's accurate, because it allows the roots to spread a lot easier than the fluorite, because the fluorite is like these tiny little pebbles if you've never seen it. So that's a little rough on the roots, but I find that now that I've put the sand in there, especially the Blixa japonica and the crypts, really enjoy it. And I really think my tank looks a lot better. I could use a lot more coverage. I might plant some Vallisneria or some other kind of background plant, and I might paint the back of this tank, because I really don't like to look at my wall when I'm looking at the tank and it looks empty, even though it's got a lot of plants in it. And the plants are huge. I mean, they don't look that big on the video, but they're huge. And I think if I do those things, it's gonna look a whole lot better. So we'll go up here now, and you see this little dirty Marina breeder box. And in here, if you can see, maybe you can see, not with all the detritus. So you see those little floating fry in there? Those are angel fry. Those are from the previous spawn that I pulled off of one of the leaves. And those are Philippine blue angel fry. And if you look right there in the center, that's a cory cat. That's one of the few eggs that I managed to save. And I think there's 2 or 3 of them in here. But that's the biggest one. And like I said, I really don't try to breed for numbers, but every now and then I'll collect some eggs and they'll make it. He's getting pretty big. I'd say he's about a ½ inch long now. So I think he'll make it. And if you can see on the bottom, if you can see all the little tiny wiggly things, that's what I feed them. They're micro worms and Walter worms, and I have banana worms. But it's a lot easier for me to have those worm cultures than to try to hatch brine shrimp all the time. I'll just get some every time I need them, and I'll use a dropper to drop the clean worms into the water. And I mean, they've been doing really well on them. I mean, these fry are about 5 days old, I think, and I think a few of them might make it. If you can see right there in the center, there's another one of the cory cats scurrying around the bottom there. So now we move on to this rack. So up here on this 10-gallon, I got a lot of diatom algae, but it happens. It's one of the newer tanks, and it's adjusting to a new light, and I think it'll be okay. So I have some driftwood in here. I got some of this Eco Complete substrate, and I got a trio. What I was told was a trio, and I'm not entirely sure. So if any of you guys can tell a little bit better, these are Apistogramma atahualpa. Now back there is what I think is the male. Now he looks big and mean. He looks like a male. And then these are supposed to be the females right there and up here. So they kind of look the part, but they don't get along at all. I mean, they'll chase each other off all day, and that's pretty much what they'll do. So they don't seem particularly interested in each other. And right next to them, I got some Blue Dream Neocaridinius. So I got a bunch of random mosses in here. I got some floating Monte Carlo up there. And somewhere in here are some shrimp. There you go. There's a couple of them there. They're not the highest quality, but then again, I got them for a good price, and I wasn't really looking for prize winners. I just wanted to try some shrimp. And down here, we got my big pair of German blue rams. And these German blue rams are spawning all the time. As a matter of fact, they laid eggs earlier. Right on that driftwood there. You see they got a bunch of eggs. I got a bunch of plants in here, some hair algae, but that's okay. It doesn't bother me. So I got a couple of random guppy males in here somewhere floating around. But it's mostly just those two in there. I got a couple of the bristlenose plego babies in here. And then if you look down here, my last tank, my Shelly tank. Now, my Shelly tank is a little dirty. All my tanks are a little bit dirty. I don't really clean them all the time to make them look pretty. I take care of the filters and all that, but detritus builds up. And especially with this one, because they, anytime I feed them, they don't like to leave their shells for some reason. Like they don't swim away from their shells a whole lot. So any food that falls like towards the filter or anything like that, they just completely ignore it. They only eat anything that falls like right next to their shells, and it's really annoying sometimes. But what I did in there is I went through the substrate and I sifted out a lot of random color gravel that I had underneath of the sand, because it was really looking ugly. And I built a little sifter and I went through the sand and I left mostly just the white sand behind. And after all that settled, so I have a bunch of this mulm on top of the sand. It looks kind of funky, but it doesn't really do them any harm. And if you can see right there, I got about 10 that are visible. But I also got like another 10 or 15 tiny little fry that are hiding from me right now. But I've seen them all around the shells, so they are producing more. Originally I had 4. I had the 2 big ones right there, and then back there's another big one in the corner, and I believe the 4th one was that one right there. And I believe she was the only female of the whole group, and she produced a bunch of fry, and she spawned a couple of times, and every now and then they won't make it, or one of them will make it out of the whole batch or whatever. But it's okay. And same thing goes for these. I don't really try to breed them to get a bunch of them out, because I really don't have anyone to give the fry to or to sell the fry to. You know, I'm not a member of an aquarium group or society or anything like that. So if you can see right there, that's one of the smaller ones, but it's definitely not the smallest fry in there. There's a bunch of tiny little fry that are hiding all in the shells, and I don't see any of them right now to try to focus, but there's another 10 or 15 of them in there. So the Shelly community is growing, and well, that's the end of my little tour here of my tanks. If there's anything you like, let me know. Hit the like button if you like the video. You know, subscribe if you feel like it's worth it. And if there's anything that you would like me to go over in more detail, anything at all, just let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to try to make a video about anything that you request. Thank you.